Hey crafters, today's project is all about the thrift flip. I love thrift shopping, but sometimes when you are thrifting, sometimes you find items that are amazing, but don't quite work just right for maybe your body type, or maybe they're not quite the style you're looking for, and you want to change them a little bit to make them just right for you. That's where the thrift flip comes in. You get to refashion or upcycle those pieces to see if you can't make them really unique and just what you're looking for. Thrift flipping has its ups and downs. Sometimes it takes a lot of work to change a garment into something that you love, and sometimes it can be an easy fix. I think today's projects are actually going to be pretty simple, and I'm really excited about that because these might even inspire you to try doing a little thrift flipping of your own, because we're working with a piece that's pretty easy to find. T-shirts! Yeah, I found a bunch of men's t-shirts that all match. They're all similar color, so they must have been donated together at my thrift store. And I'm pretty excited to show you these pieces because they are kind of unique, but I think they have a lot of potential for doing some easy thrift flipping to change them into some pieces that should be really fun to wear. Let me show you these t-shirts and let's dive in. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, look at that color. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so the thrift store near me had quite a few of these. Kind of seemed like maybe they were a test batch for a dye lot because I don't know if you can tell, but like some of the color is a little lighter here and it's a little darker down here. They kind of look like they've been tie-dyed a little bit, so maybe they were kind of an experiment. But here's what I love about this shirt. It is a men's large. But look how narrow it is. It's pretty narrow. This is not a big, like, baggy shirt. It's narrow, and it's so long that on me, it's basically a tunic length. Oh my gosh. A non-baggy t-shirt that is tunic length? Sign me up for that because I love those to wear with, yoga pants or leggings, whatever. So I got a bunch of these. I may end up using some for other projects, but I kind of want to see if I can change up this color a little bit. Like, I'm still good with it being bright. I'm actually keeping another shirt just as this is. I'm actually going to keep one, this peachy fluorescent salmon color. Don't worry, I'm keeping one. But I'm thinking with this shirt, I might want to tone it down a little bit. And maybe some petal pink Rit dye will be the secret. I don't know. This pink seems to have kind of a cool undertone to it. Seems to have a little bit of gray to it as well. So I'm kind of hoping maybe it will just tone down the fluorescence a little bit, but still keep it in that warm, peachy pink color realm. Like, I'm not trying to completely erase the color, but maybe just push it in another direction. I might even just put this whole shirt in as is without tying it up. I don't want to put a big pattern on it. I kind of just want to color the whole thing a little darker. And since there is that, color variation in some patchiness on the shirt, I think we're still going to get a little bit of that kind of mottled effect in the shirt itself. So let's dive in and we'll see if I can make it better or worse. Well, here is the finished shirt, you guys. I've got to say, it isn't quite as different from the original as I had hoped. Yeah, I had hoped it to be a little darker pink, a little pinker, a little darker. But I guess that petal pink dye, you know, it is meant to be a pink. It's meant to be a pastel dye. And I don't think that pink was quite strong enough to fully compete with that fluorescent t-shirt. It is kind of an interesting color, though. Like before, it was very fluorescent peach, and now you can tell there's kind of some patchiness. There's like some pinker spots and then some like peachier spots. Even though I dyed the whole thing at once, I think the color underneath wasn't fully even, and so the dye over the top is kind of mottled. That's actually kind of cool. I kind of enjoy that. Another thing that happened, a little hard to see, but you might be able to see some of these little speckles in here. That's, I believe, from the powdered RIT dye. I thought I had mixed it up. I thought I had stirred it as much as I could, but yeah, I got a lot of speckles on this one. And I mean, that's not what you aim for. Like, you try to not have that happen, but I don't know. It's actually kind of cool looking. One thing though, I did get a splotch. Oh man, a little splash of dye from another project that I was doing in the sink, and man. But you know, at the end of the day, that's tie-dye. Like, you can't predict exactly what it's gonna do. Sometimes it works out just the way you pictured. Other times not quite. I have some options here. I could wear this shirt as is, or I could dye it again. I'm not sure. It's kind of growing on me in all of its imperfect artsy funkiness. So I think I'm going to try wearing it. I think I'm just going to work it as is, and then later if I decide I want to dye it again, I can do that. I mean, it's tie-dye, right? It's all possible. A project time. What can I do with these guys? And I think I'm gonna go super basic. I'm thinking of cutting off part of one of the shirts and then attaching that fabric to the bottom of the other shirt and basically making a t-shirt dress. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay guys, I basically want to take the rectangular part of this one and attach it to the bottom of this one. So basically just making a really long tube of fabric that will be probably about, I don't know, midi length on me. We'll see. So my first step is to basically cut off the shirt right underneath the arms, and then I think I'll slip that fabric right underneath and sew maybe right along the existing stitching. I want to keep the bottom of this shirt. I like this edge, so I'll just attach some fabric underneath, sew along, and then we'll have a skirt, theoretically speaking. So let's do some measuring and cutting on this guy first. I think I want a bigger ruler. Let's make this as flat as we can get it, as smooth as we can get it. Here we go, bigger ruler. Okay, I'm lining it up just right under the arm seams, and hopefully they're straight. They aren't always straight, but we hope they are today. All right, here we go. Okay, well, I'll save this for later. Man, wouldn't it be cute to make like a matching scrunchie? Oh my gosh. Yes, okay, definitely saving this for later. Okay. Well, now, this is our skirt basically. Whoa, this is gonna be long. Okay, so what I really want to do is I want to keep this hem on the shirt. I love it, and I want to keep this hem as the bottom of the skirt. So I think what I'm going to do is insert the raw edge inside this one. Normally if you were sewing on a skirt, you know, you'd sew the fabrics right sides together, but I think to preserve this bottom band, which I really like, I think I'll kind of insert it this way and then stitch maybe from the top right along the seam line or really close to it. Okay, cool. Now let's do a little work to see if we can make it easy for us to line up the skirt as we pin it on. Okay, coming to the inside here, we got our chalk, we got our ruler. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. So I think I'm gonna measure about 1/2 inch up from the seam line, and then once I've made little marks all around, I can line up my skirt fabric and pin it in there pretty easily. I do want it pretty straight because if the skirt isn't pinned and sewn on straight, it's gonna really show. Sorry, my blue chalk doesn't really want to show a lot for us today. Well, it's a little bit hard to see, but I've got my markings in there, and now I'm gonna line up my skirt fabric to that mark, and that'll make sure that I have plenty of seam allowance when I want to stitch it onto the shirt. As I'm pinning our skirt to the shirt, I'm gonna be using a lovely chopping board. Yes, it's clean, don't worry. And that's gonna help me make sure I don't pin through all the layers of the dress and stitch it to itself, which I don't want to do. Okay, so I've got my skirt inside out, I've got my shirt inside out, and let's try to make sure I'm doing this the right way. Okay, so I want the edge of my skirt to line up with that pencil mark, that blue mark I've made. I want to pin all the way around so that I can stitch it. Once I turn that inside out, I should have, you know, kind of the finished edge hanging over the seam. Okay, let's pin. Okay guys, we got the skirt pinned on. Yeah, that took a little while. Hey, let's double check that we actually got this pinned on correctly. Always good to double check before you sew it, right? Okay, so we're now looking at the right side of the skirt. Okay, so once it's sewn, I'm going to have that hem from the shirt on the outside. That's good. And just double checking. Yes, I will have the hem of the skirt on the outside too. Have I pinned this in the wrong way? Yeah. Always good to double check before you sew it. Speaking of sewing, I'm going to be using a knit needle for my machine. Yes, it makes a big difference using a needle designed for the fabric you're working with. And I am definitely working with knits. And then I'm going to use a knit stitch as well. Your sewing machine manual should have that for you. Usually it's a zigzag stitch or a few other options. I'm probably going to do a little tiny zigzag to sew that skirt on. And then it's basically a dress at that point. I may do a few more tweaks. I don't know. We'll see. I think maybe I'll cuff the sleeves. I don't know. See, if I cuffed them a couple times, sorry, I can't do this with one hand. If I cuffed them, you know, a couple times, made them, I don't know, more of a shorter sleeve, I could do a couple little stitches like on the outside just to secure the cuff. And then I'd have kind of a cool cuff detail, and it would also help bring in the sleeves a little bit because they are pretty long. But yeah, I think I got to get sewing, and then we're pretty close. Let's check it out. Okay, got the sewing done on the hem. Liking that zigzag. Hey, I did have a couple places where I kind of had to pucker the fabric, gather it a little bit because the skirt ended up being a little wider than the top. That's okay. It's going to be fine. I also noticed that it was kind of hard to judge, you know, a straight line as I was stitching this. And I was kind of feeling the seam underneath the edge, and then I kind of just tried to follow that. Something that could help is to mark in maybe like 1/2 inch from the raw edge and just make some little marks with your, you know, fabric pencil or your chalk, and then sew along that just to help you get a straight line. But hey, let's look at it from the outside. Hey, well, here's the dress, you guys. Okay, it is officially a dress. I tried it on, always a good step, and I realized that on me, being kind of a short person, it's actually a maxi length. Yeah, these shirts are incredibly long. I had underestimated the length of these shirts. And just trying it on in front of the mirror, I realized it's a little too much orange on me. Like, it's just a little too long. So I think what I'm going to do is actually trim the skirts, maybe right about there. So I've got some marks in there. I think I want to make it more of a midi length instead of a maxi length. And I think it'll just look a little more balanced. I also am really liking the cuffs on the sleeves. I definitely want to tack those down so those stay. So I think next step is trim off the dress, and then maybe I can use some of the extra to make a little belt. We'll see. We'll see. Let's try it. Okay, I trimmed the skirt, I tried it on, and I like it a lot better. I might shorten it a little bit more later, but we'll see. Hey, while playing around with that extra fabric for, possibly a belt, I noticed something interesting. If you stretch this knit, it rolls up. That's kind of cool. So I'm thinking that I will leave the edge, the raw edge of my skirt, just raw. It's not really going to fray because it's knit, and I think it'll look really cool if it kind of rolls up a little bit, look a little bit purposeful. Then I'm thinking I want to take both the strips here. This is one of the strips from the skirt. Take both of these, maybe sew, well, first I got to cut that into a strip. Then I want to sew the two edges together and just let it roll, so I'll have kind of a rolled belt. Not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of the fabric, but I'm definitely going to use it for something. Okay, I think we're on the right track, guys. I just noticed something. Yeah, I think this dress is now like a cross between my two highlighters. Could that be a new aesthetic? Dress like your office supplies / school supplies? Supply core? I don't know. How about highlighter core? I'm definitely gonna look like a highlighter, but hey, I'm okay with that.